Hi guys, follow me on Instagram to never ever miss any of my crazy updates. Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. I am driving this. This is the Hyundai Verna facelift and straight away let's open the engine bay of this vehicle. So this is the engine. It's a new unit. We will talk about it while driving, and of course there is insulation there as well. Straight away you can see that the car looks so much more sharper now thanks to this dark chrome radiator grille, which is big in size but still looks so elegant and nice somehow. Anyways, Hyundai has also revised the lights. Now these are all LED lights. Unfortunately the indicators are not LEDs, they are regular bulbs, and the fog lamps are also not LEDs, so cost has been cut there. In the turbo variant, this grille is actually completely black. Even the wing mirrors are black, and it also gets front parking sensors, which is not there in the non-turbo variants. Anyways, as you can see, the design of the Verna looks sharper, it looks fresher, and it looks so nice now. Okay, this is the towing hook of the vehicle. There's this chrome treatment there too, but it's the grille which looks really mind-bogglingly phenomenal to me. Coming to the side, you can see the new 16-inch diamond cut alloy wheels with the dual tone treatment, which also looks pretty good on this car. And the tire size happens to be a 16-incher on the SXO only. In the lower trims, it gets a 15-incher. So this happens to be 195/55/16. I love the treatment on the wheels. It actually looks quite nice. However, the turbo also gets rear discs which are not present in the non-turbo variants of the car, unfortunately. Now this color is something I think Starry Night or something like that. It looks nice as well. You get chrome door handles, and there's a request sensor right there, and you get chrome below the window line too. The shark fin antenna is also finished in gloss black on the turbo variant. So gloss black, gloss back, gloss, what am I talking? Okay, so on the turbo variant you get dual exhaust tips and turbo written right there. Meanwhile, here you get the chrome finish, sort of a diffuser treatment as well. Rear parking sensors, there's a reverse parking camera, and from the rear too, the car looks pretty good. I like it actually. I like the design of the Verna. Yes, I know Hyundai is going bigger on the grille, but in this car it actually looks nice. See the lights, they look beautiful. And there's the emergency stop lamp as well. So LED and bulb mixture, this is a bulb. Meanwhile, the lights, the tail lights are LED. Rather, the brake lights are LED. The indicators still happen to be non-LEDs. There's this fake diffuser. Yeah, there's nothing. I don't need the Carabao stick of truth to tell you this because my fingers are the stick of truth right now. Okay, stop fingering. That doesn't go down well. That said, the overall design of the Verna obviously has been great in terms of looks, in terms of design. But now it looks so much more fresher. That said, on the left side, you have no request sensors. Hyundai cuts corners by not giving a request sensor on the left side, which Maruti and MG actually do. Okay, now in order to open the boot, all you have to do is come behind and stand. And you know what? It has got this smart trunk which can sense that someone's standing behind and open the trunk as well. However, because right now I've turned on the car, that will not work. So I'll just open it right away. Now I have just unwrapped the car, removed all the plastic sheets. That's why the boot is in such a terrible condition. However, the boot carrying capacity is decent enough for you to carry multiple bags for the airport run or even weekend trips. Spare wheel isn't an alloy. In fact, it's a 15-incher, 185/65/15. Well, I think the well itself is small enough that they couldn't fit a full-size spare wheel. The other problem is that, the rear seats don't recline. Yeah, that's right. The rear seats don't recline. So you can't really improve the boot carrying capacity of this vehicle. But when I open the rear door, I realize that the seat is on the lower side. Okay, there's a lot of this plastic everywhere. That's so satisfying, removing all of this. It's like unwrapping, unboxing, whatever you want to call it. So like you see, the seat is low and the space is very less comparatively. I mean, I can't even compare this to a Honda City or a Maruti Ciaz. However, if I compare it to even compact sedans like the Honda Maze, that has more space than the Verna, because although they have worked on the wheelbase and all, they really not increased much space at the rear, unfortunately. So this new platform of the car hasn't addressed the issue of legroom, which was there previously as well. Now the rear AC vents, there is a USB charging socket here. Okay, not a 12-volt charging socket, a USB charging socket, which is actually a good thing. Scooped out seat back, there are magazine holders here, but under that support isn't that great. And yes, headroom is a sort of an issue here because my hair is touching the roof right now. So yes, headroom could have been better. In spite of the fact that the seat is placed lower, headroom is still an issue. So you can just understand that this car is not really for rear seat passengers. There's a light placement here, no LED. Handle to hold on to, and there's a hook as well. Now this is a manual sun blind, sunshade. So you just have to That's how you push it, and you can put it back just to block the sun. Could have had that on the side as well. That would be a really nice touch. We've obviously got a center armrest with twin cup holders too, but you know what? This car anyways can't fit 3 people at the rear because it's not wide enough. And although the floor is almost flat, it's just not wide enough, and there's no headrest in the center. The other headrests are adjustable, which is actually a good thing. That is the dashboard of the car. Now I know it looks very familiar to the older Verna, not talking about the pre-facelift, but the previous generation Verna as well. And there are certain changes which have been done on this car, which we'll talk about. This thing, the seat belt, gets the height adjust, and everywhere I see there is something or the other sticker which is placed. So not really a rear seat passenger car, or rather for the chauffeur driven. However, for the driver, there are plenty of features on offer. Alright, request sensor is given here itself. Okay, like the feel of the doors. Overall build quality is also nice. These are actually the controls for the power windows. This is to lock or unlock the car. This is for the outside rear view mirror. Door pockets at the front are big enough. The seat doesn't get electric adjust, but you know what, when you increase the height of the seat, the full thing gets improved. Unlike the previous generation where only the seat base used to raise in terms of height, now the whole seat operates, which is with the new generation of the Verna. There's a proper dead pedal right there. This is to open the hood of the car. This is to increase or decrease the intensity of the instrument cluster. This is the headlight leveler, and this is the traction control button of the vehicle. So in terms of design, yes, it's nice. The seats are also comfortable, but yeah, I mean, around this area, it's a bit too soft for your back support. That said, not much to complain about in that sense. Let's get inside. Straight away, let me tell you, first let's turn off the indicators making noise, that the dashboard could have been more adventurous. There could have been some amount of soft touch plastics as well, because all the plastics on the dashboard are really hard, okay, and they're shiny as well. You obviously get the dual tone treatment on this particular car, but the turbo gets a all black interior with red inserts on the AC vents. So what's changed? New infotainment system. This is an 8-inch unit, and this is an HD unit as well. So auto dimming inside rear view mirror. There's a sunglass holder right there, and you've got light placement here. And of course, this is the control for the sunroof. Meanwhile, here you get a mirror, and you know what? The Creta does not get a mirror. That's surprising. The Creta does not get a mirror here, but this car gets it. And here again you get a mirror. But I'm quite surprised that there are certain features in this car which are not there in the more expensive Creta. The glove box is decent size. It's a cooled glove box. Like, another feature is that the steering wheel is adjustable both for reach as well as rake. That's again a splendid thing. This is a feature which is missing in the new Creta. I'm trying to fit it back. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge. But the Seltos has a similar adjustment on offer. Right away, let me tell you, there's a climate control, air conditioning, and we have to unwrap almost everything in this vehicle because I did not get the time to do so. I was like, I'll do it in front of camera itself, and that is so satisfying. So there's a wireless charging pad, there's a USB plug and a 12-volt charging socket and another USB. So yes, in terms of charging options, there are plenty of them. The twin cup holders, a manual handbrake. That's the reason why it's got connected car features, yet it cannot auto start. Like, you cannot remotely start the car. Specifically speaking, there is good amount of space under the front center armrest as well. It's got this ventilated seat function, which is the coolest thing ever because it cools your seat. It's available for the front seats. This is the engine start stop button. These are actually the controls for the infotainment system, and I appreciate the fact that they're physical controls, which is a nice thing. All of a sudden now I am dripping water. It is so hot. OMG. So steering wheel has got the cruise control buttons here on the right side, and this is actually for the multi-information display. These are the controls for the audio system, so you can pick up a call, decline a call. Actually vice versa, you can pick up a call, you can decline a call. This is for the volume, this is for voice commands, and this is for the mode selector. Meanwhile, these are actually the controls for the headlights. It gets automatic headlights. These are the controls for the wipers. It doesn't get automatic wipers though, and the wipers work really well. A lot of spray on offer as well. Meanwhile, the horn, it's decently loud. It gets an all new instrument cluster. It's an all digital unit. In the center, we've got a 4.2-inch multi-information display as well with plenty of information. So right now, fuel economy might be showing 6.8 kilometers per liter, but please remember, I've been sitting in this car with 100% AC, so real world mileage is very different. It's a tire pressure monitoring system too, and a lot of information on offer here as well. And it's a easy to use thing because naturally it's got multiple trip meters, and this is actually the distance to empty on the top. Now, the speedometer is both digital as well as analog. I mean, the display is obviously digital, but in between the tachometer reading, you've got a digital readout for the tachometer, and just at 600 RPM right now idling. That's really low. That actually justifies why the car is super silent. Here we've got a digital speedometer. There is the fuel efficiency meter, and this is the engine temperature meter. I love the new cluster. It will definitely remind you of new BMW cars. Only thing is, this one is somehow done better. Wow, what a surprise. Meanwhile, I mean, steering wheel is nice to hold. Again, you can feel that, you know, hard plastic is everywhere. Love the stitching, which is very beautifully done too. It gets art leather. And let's get to the infotainment system. Firstly, it's a very slick unit. It's very fast. It's very nice. It's very smooth as well, and easy to operate too. It's got BlueLink now, connected car features, 45 connected car features. You can do geofencing. You can do a ton of information from your mobile phone and see a lot of data as well. But we are not going to talk much about BlueLink today. We're going to focus on what are the new features on offer. So for starters, this screen feels so much more legit than before. Obviously, it's got a reverse parking camera. That's a reverse parking camera. It's got adaptive guidelines. It's got a driver rear view monitor as well. It's got rear parking sensors too. And this insect is really frustrating me right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the window right now. Now, I would have expected Hyundai to actually, you know, offer one touch up and down windows, but that is only for the driver's side. Unfortunately, Volkswagen offers it in its cheaper cars. Yeah, one touch up for the driver. That's actually a good thing. But will you please leave? So what we are going to do is we are just going to remove this plastic sheet from here. Yeah, that is very satisfying. And we're going to use the plastic to catch this guy out. Alright, let's do one thing. Let's open the sunroof of the car. That is the sunroof. It's a small sunroof, but it's a sunroof nonetheless. You press it once more for it to go further behind. And with the sunroof open, it brings in a lot of airy feeling, of course, without a doubt. So because of the connected car features, it's got this SOS, towing, as well as BlueLink button on the inside rear view mirror, which happens to be auto dimming, which is a nice touch as well. So in terms of features, Hyundai has given this plenty of more equipment, although I would have appreciated if, you know, we would have got soft touch plastics inside the cabin. This infotainment system obviously gets Apple CarPlay, it gets Android Auto connectivity, it also gets voice commands, so I can just talk to them like, hello BlueLink, navigate me to Cafe Coffee Day.
Navigating to Cafe Coffee Day.
Yeah, the navigation is really slick and really nice. So that works fabulously well on this vehicle. This whole BlueLink system is complimentary for 3 years.
Start
After
route guidance.
no auntie, wait, just cancel it. Okay.
In
So
500
auntie
meters,
ruko boss.
turn
No,
right.
nahi jaane ka mere ko. Okay, so what happens is this whole BlueLink system is complimentary for 3 years, after which you'll have to start paying for it, because there's a Vodafone Idea eSIM inside this car, which actually, you know, helps you with all the information, because all this is live. You don't have to connect your phone to use this, which is again very slick and very nice indeed. The Verna gets 6 airbags, and you know, it gets a 6-speaker Alchemy sound system, which by the way has 2 tweeters and 4 speakers as such. So let's play an audio right away. Audio quality is really nice, and the good thing is that this system is standard across the range. Now this armrest is actually a sliding armrest. You can slide it ahead as well, just in case you're shorter or your seat is actually further ahead, which is again a nice touch on this vehicle. This is obviously art leather, comfortable without a doubt. The Verna also gets cornering lamps, and in the automatics there's also hill start assist. Let's do one thing, let's turn off the car. Okay, let's lock it. It's telling me that the sunroof is open. It is so smart, it's able to realize that the sunroof is open, so we'll just close the sunroof, otherwise it will keep beeping. By the way, the rear also gets ISOFIX child seat mounts naturally. Let's do one thing, let's lock the car, turn off the lights, lock the car, and let's try the hands-free boot opening. Let's see how it works, because in the previous generation Verna, it used to work, in the pre-facelift Verna it used to work, but it wasn't that slick. Now here I am, I'm just going to stand here and let's see whether it responds or not. There it goes, it opens, and that is a very cool thing indeed. The thing is that you have to go back and walk towards the car. Firstly, it needs to disconnect the range, and then it needs to reconnect the range, then only it can identify. But this is not open the car, okay, this is just merely, okay, even if I'm standing here, okay, it can feel that, you know, I want to open the boot, and there it opens. Now it's all about driving the vehicle, so let's start right away. Alright, we're all set to go, which means removing this plastic sheet so that you can see the driver rear view monitor better. Into first gear, revving the motor, revs till 5000 RPM, traction control off, and here we go. Some amount of wheel spin on offer. Now this is actually a new engine. Yes, that's right. This is a new engine, a new 1.5 litre petrol engine, which actually replaces the 1.6 litre petrol. But what engine is this? Now this is the same engine which also does duty in the Seltos as well as the Creta, because this one complies with BS6 emission norms. Now right now I've short shifted straight away into 6th gear. Let me tell you that this engine is extremely smooth, it's extremely refined and has the punch on offer. Okay, but there is some bad news, and for that I'll have to actually compare this particular engine with some other engines. Firstly, we'll compare it obviously with the 1.6 litre engine, which is now gone out, the BS4 compliant 1.6 litre motor, which produced 123 PS of power and 151 Newton meters of torque. It actually saw a reduction of I think around 2 to 3 Newton meters when compared to the older generation of the Verna. So in this generation of the Verna, it saw a reduction of 3 Newton meters, but that's fine. But they also delayed the peak output at a higher RPM. But that's not the point of bother right now. The point of bother is that this 1.5 litre engine produces 115 PS of power and 144 Newton meters of torque, which happens to be a reduction of 8 PS of power and 7 Newton meters of torque. And obviously you can feel that, because yes, it doesn't feel as fast as before and doesn't feel as exciting near the red line either, but it is very smooth. It's got a good low end punch and feels very drivable as well. In fact, drivability is so good that even on part throttle, the response is really very nice from this engine. Braking performance is obviously very nice. See the wheel spin? Well, at idle, the motor is super smooth and super refined. You can feel a bit of the vibrations on the steering wheel, but for the most part, it is a super refined engine and loves to rev all the way to 6,500 RPM. Only thing is, it becomes quite vocal past 4,000 RPM, and then power delivery also falters past 4,000 RPM. So it doesn't have a top end as such. It's got a good low end punch. Mid range is also decent, but top end is lacking. See now, as you climb the revs, you can hear a lot more inside the cabin. The other comparison is obviously with the 1.5 litre VTEC motor from Honda, which now has 3 bhp of extra power. Earlier the Verna was more powerful, but now the City is more powerful by 3 horsepower only. Shouldn't make much of a difference. Only thing is that VTEC motor, when you get into the top end, the way it reacts, the way it changes completely, that's the magic which is obviously lacking in this Gamma 2 petrol motor. That said, get into the gas, there is good amount of response whether you are driving it at lower RPMs as well. So part throttle inputs are always very responsive with this vehicle. That's actually a good thing. So in terms of drivability, it's good. In terms of highway overtake also, it's good. It's just that when you get to flat out acceleration, it doesn't put a big smile on your face, unfortunately. Yeah, in terms of the Honda City, similar torque output. This is 144 Newton meters. The City is I think around 145 Newton meters. So not much of a difference as such. But both those engines, rather this and the Honda City engine, is so different. It's like chalk and cheese. Massive difference in the way both the engines are tuned and made. Obviously this one is more refined, more smoother somehow, and in terms of fuel economy as well, that is also increased right now. So obviously downsizing has to have some benefit. We've gone from 1.6 to 1.5. 100cc reduction in displacement should at least improve mileage by 0.3 kilometers per litre, and it has. This is more efficient by 0.3 kilometers per litre when compared to the older Verna, the pre-facelift version. Around the corners, well, you're going to see it for yourself. Here we are downshifting into third. The brakes are nice, but the car doesn't inspire much confidence because there is some amount of body roll on offer. Actually, there's quite a bit of a body roll on offer, but it's really the steering wheel which is the issue here, because it's not really consistent. It's super light, without a doubt. It's super light. It feels much more reassuring than the previous generation, something which we've already spoken about when the new generation was launched. But in terms of outright feel, in terms of inspiring that confidence to push hard and fast, it just doesn't have the metal somehow, because it's light at low speeds, which is actually a boon. Like you will see right now when I take a U-turn, it's a boon while taking a U-turn. It's a boon while driving in the city. But when I say city, I didn't mean that city. Okay, see, it's super easy. Just twirl it with one hand. That's how light it is. But unfortunately, that lightness also comes with the fact that inconsistency is plenty, and it's so inconsistent that you don't know exactly how much input you should be giving. That becomes a sort of a concern. Now see, it's making a lot more noise. So I was telling you, the steering wheel could have offered more feel and feedback for sure. It's not an enthusiast car by any means of imagination, and around the corners, although there's good amount of grip, it certainly doesn't inspire you to push hard and fast. This is more about comfort without a doubt. So the old Verna shared its engines with the Creta, and obviously the Creta has got updated engines now. So the new Verna also shares its engine with the Creta, which means that both the 1.5 litre petrol and diesel engines are shared between both the models, producing 115 PS of power and 5 powertrain options, you can say that. But in the Creta you get the 1.4 liter turbo engine, in the Verna you get the 1 liter turbo engine, and that 1 liter turbo engine is absolutely fab. It's so fab, it produces 5 PS of extra power and around 27 Newton meters more torque when compared to this 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. And guess what? This engine is having 50% more displacement than the turbo. Well, that's a massive difference in terms of being smaller yet being bigger in terms of performance, of course. So how is the 1 liter turbo engine so good? Well, obviously it's turbocharged, it has direct injection as well, and all that plays a massive role in improving the performance of the vehicle. However, one must understand that there's a big leap for the automatic in terms of fuel economy. Earlier, the 1.6 liter automatic was the least efficient of the Verna lineup, the 1.6 liter petrol automatic. Now, the car I'm driving is the least efficient of the Verna petrol lineup. You know why? Because they have dropped the torque converter and now they opted for a CVT. So the increase in mileage of the 1.5 liter CVT when compared to the 1.6 liter torque converter petrol is massive. But that's not the most efficient petrol model of the Verna lineup. That happens to be the turbo. Yes, the turbo is still the most efficient version of the Verna lineup, and it gets a 7-speed DCT. There is no manual on offer, unfortunately. So you should expect somewhere between 9 to 12 kilometers per liter of fuel economy from this car. The clutch is obviously light. The gearbox is also smooth shifting. It's a 6-speed unit and offers really nice and crisp shifts as well. Sound insulation is great. You can barely hear much inside the cabin. Again, that's a big win because the overall insulation NVH is very well done on the Verna. Meanwhile, you see, it feels so much more confident than its predecessor, but if you compare it to the pre-facelift, it's very much similar. So ride quality is also very nice. It's only that sharp bumps catch out the car, but for the most part, the ride is smooth. The car does a great job on bad roads and feels stable at higher speeds too, so it doesn't feel hairy at all. Only thing is, you need to get used to the steering wheel, which outright doesn't offer the feel you would expect from a car which also has a turbo badging. I know the turbo would be more faster, but the suspension and everything is the same, yeah. And off we go. You can understand the amount of performance with the wheel spin. The car is actually quite fast and brisk, It doesn't hesitate as such to reach the ton. I estimate it should take around 11 seconds for the Verna to reach 100 kilometers per hour, which is decently quick but definitely slower than before. I expected more feel from the steering wheel because this is the only fly in the otherwise beautiful ointment of the Verna, of course, especially when you factor in the turbo. The turbo also gets paddle shifters on offer, and Hyundai is offering a wonder warranty on this car. What exactly is a wonder warranty? It's basically, it comes with 3 years unlimited kilometers warranty, which is great. You can opt for a 4 year 60,000 kilometers warranty or a 5 years 50,000 kilometer warranty. So there is a different kind of warranty depending on your usage of the vehicle, and there are 11 variants on offer now. I've put it into 6th gear, okay, and see, car feels calm, it feels refined, it feels not really eager, but it's slowly pulling across because the mid-range is decent, and around 2,500 RPM at 100 kilometers per hour, it feels very relaxed. So in terms of cruising ability is not a problem. You want to make a quick overtake, just downshift, and I'm going to come to third, and there immediately RPM soars over 5,000 and you can hear a lot more inside the cabin. So there are 11 variants on offer, 5 for the petrol, 5 for the diesel. When I'm talking about the petrol, I mean the naturally aspirated petrol, and only 1 variant for the turbo, and that turbo variant only comes with a 7-speed DCT gearbox, and also the turbo also gets rear disc brakes. Performance is good in terms of braking, but you know what, if you get hard onto the brakes, you have to hold the steering wheel a bit more because the steering is light. It likes to move a bit only under panic braking situation, but it's got emergency stop signal as well, which basically alerts others that you are doing an emergency braking. So wheel did not spin. The wheels did not spin because now it should. Yeah, because I did not rev it and then dump the clutch. Anyways, the pricing of the car I'm driving right now is slightly under rupees 15 lakhs, and this is the top end petrol manual variant, the SXO petrol manual. Meanwhile, the range actually starts at 10,80,000 for the base petrol trim and goes all the way till 18.2 lakhs for the top of the line diesel automatic. The turbo costs rupees 1.5 lakhs more than this, but the turbo is an automatic, this is a manual. So we have to compare the 1.5 liter naturally aspirated automatic, which happens to be a CVT gearbox, and that's the reason why the mileage has improved dramatically when compared to the torque converter automatic which was there in the pre-facelift of the Verna. Now for me to put it into simple terms, the price difference between the 1.5 liter petrol automatic and the 1 liter turbo 7-speed DCT is so minuscule, it makes absolutely no sense for anyone to actually opt for the 1.5 liter petrol automatic, because the DCT is so much better in terms of gear shifts. And not only that, it's also better in terms of performance. The engine is state of the art. It has the most performance on offer, the most power, the most torque, and that torque comes so much lower down the rev range, and that's the reason the mileage is also improved. I mean, it's a no-brainer. If you're buying a petrol Verna automatic, just get the turbo with the amazing dual clutch gearbox. The car obviously gets electronic stability control, vehicle stability management, and you know, when you rev it, you can hear a lot more inside the cabin, which is certainly a good thing. Here we are, left foot on the clutch, right foot on the brake, and now you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put half foot on the brake and rev it, and off we go. Crazy wheel spin. 6,600 RPM. It hits the red line and then it bogs down, comes down to 6.5 and then 6.4. And you know, once you hit the red line, it doesn't maintain anything around the red line. It just wants to get below it. It's like, okay, fine. You know what? This is my peak RPM. Now I want to come down. And you know, this car has a big problem that it feels so much more composed than before, that you will be doing much higher speeds and you will not realize about it. So I want to keep a car under a certain speed, but I have to look at the speedometer to realize, you know what, we're doing those speeds. We should not be doing those speeds. We should slow down. And all this is thanks to the fact that Hyundai has actually stiffened the chassis, and they stiffened it to an extent where the car feels so much more composed, and yet they've managed to, you know, tweak the suspension in a brilliant manner to offer a good balance between ride and handling. Only thing is this steering, if this is addressed, trust me, the Verna would be so much more fun to drive in the real sense. So as you can see guys, the Verna has always been a great car. There's not much difference between the pre-facelift and the facelift in terms of mechanicals, other than the fact this new engine has come, and this new engine is decent. Okay, it's not bad at all. It just doesn't have the soul. So it might be fast, it might be smooth, it might be refined, but it's not an engine which will be like, you know what, something kicked in you. And that Gamma 2 engine does not kick in you, so it's not going to put a massive smile on your face. Not an enthusiast delight, which is kind of unfortunate considering this car doesn't have much rear seat space. So if it doesn't have much rear seat space, so it's not a chauffeur driven car. It's a car for those who want something which is smooth and comfortable, and that's where the Verna excels. So guys, this is my vlog of the Hyundai Verna, the facelifted model. Yes, I will review the turbo soon as well. If you like this vlog, you know what you have to do. Give it a thumbs up, that's the like button, and also subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video real soon. Bye bye, take care.